Well, we're dealing with our first major issue today. I've either made a mistake or there's been a problem with the paint, and I suspect it's my mistake.
A sailboat in the moonlight and June. Wouldn't that be heaven? Oh, heaven just for two. A soft breeze on a June night and what a perfect setting for letting dreams come true.
Well, it's sanding time again on the good ship Windover. It seems like lately we've been doing nothing but sanding. The beauty of gel coat is that you can sand it with an extra fine sandpaper and bring back the original luster. I'm carefully sanding to even up the colors and then filling the abandoned holes in with putty. It should look like new when I'm finished. I've been busy all week sanding the small reveal between the teak rub rail and the teak toe rail. Now it's time to clean that up for priming. As you can see, it's had a lot of damage over the years. You can see the primer coming right through it. The old primer, I should say. So, anyway. We're going to clean that. Now, another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean the cove mold here, because I am going to paint inside this as well. And I want the paint to adhere really well. It's never been painted before, so they've always had a decal in there, and that decal's deteriorated. I don't want it to be a different color than the hull. I want to hide it somewhat because it's so busy up there. But that's what we're looking like. One more step. Well, it's a cooler part of the evening, and I've intentionally waited until later in the day to try this first application of paint. Now, the paint we're going to be applying today is Epifanis Priming Epoxy. This is a high build epoxy primer that you can use to fix up areas and then sand it out to get a beautiful fair finish. I'm going to use it again in the cove stripe and that little blue bit up at the top. So first things first, we've got to mix this epoxy, and so that's 25% hardener and or activator, and 75% of the epoxy, and we'll add a little bit of thinners because it is still warm out. This is a brushing thinner, just allows it to flow really nicely. So first time, away we go. So I'm going to stir this before I put it in here. Get all the solids up off the bottom. Okay. So we're going to use half of this can. In there. So half of the can. Piece of my stir stick. Yikes. Okay, half of this can is going to go in there. More. Now half of this can. Will go in there. Now this can is only really about half full, so perfect. So I'm mixing the hardener in, and once this is all thoroughly mixed, then I will mix in the brushing liquid. So we get a nice thin mixture. Now, I'm sort of doing this to taste a little bit here. You can use measuring cups, but I've got a pretty good eye. I think it should be fine. I'm going to add just a little dab of this because it is warm out, just so it flows nicely. But you can do up to 10% of the brushing liquid, say on a really hot day, and all the instructions are on the back. In many languages, by the way. I wish I read Dutch. So, okay. Grab my paintbrush and let's go. Well, we're dealing with our first major issue today. We wanted to fill in that area there that contained that little blue reveal, and we wanted to fill in the cove stripe as well with an epoxy primer. The paint didn't react the way I thought it would though, and to their credit, I've called Gord Laco, the Epiphanes representative, and he's going to talk with me this afternoon about different options, but I've either made a mistake or there's been a problem with the paint, and I suspect it's my mistake. So it'll be nice to talk with him about the characteristics of it, and perhaps I should have done that before I started, but it's created a bit of a mess, and I'd say it probably has created about a week of delay simply because I've got to clean all that mess up. A little update for you. This morning I've been, I think, an hour and a half, maybe just under 2 hours, working on the starboard side, trying to get that issue with the primer resolved, and it looks like I've got it. This is, I think, this is the third day that we've had it drying, and after 3 days it finally hardened up enough. I didn't mix the hardener in correctly, and because I only used half a can, I suspect I eyeballed it incorrectly. So it's just taking a little longer for it to harden up, and even so, it's not as hard as it normally would be. So anyway, Epiphanes, you're batting 100. It looks like I can paint over that. It's going to be a beautiful smooth surface. You might recall that back in January we gave Wendover's old mainsail to our good friend Ken Sedetry. Well, he managed to get the sail back to Bermuda, had it modified and installed, and actually did some sailing with it. So we thought we'd end this video with a little bit of real sailing. Fair winds, buddy. What do you think? It looks awful right now. Oh my goodness. It's okay, it's just primer.
Talk to me.